Grain augers are one of the pieces of farm equipment that per hour of use are perhaps one of the most dangerous pieces of equipment because of their design to reach up onto grain bins at great heights, their active moving components in terms of the auger and the flight involved in drawing the grain up, and the hydraulic components and winches used to drive the auger itself.
When we look at augers today, what we're finding is there's been great improvement both in the manufacturing and the shielding and guarding, the engineering of augers. People are being much more careful. They're making sure that they're shutting down the machine when they're working on it. We also have a situation where people are being trained much better, and they're much more aware of the potential dangers out there when they're working in and around augers.
Power augers in any bins can be a dangerous piece of equipment if not used properly. One of the ways that we ensure safety is by having lockouts on the power source at the bin doors. That way when personnel have to go in to work on these augers, that the power can be locked out and tagged that somebody is in those bins. One of these mechanisms here is a lockout on the auger engagement for inside the bin. That way that sweep auger inside the bin cannot be started. This ring is connected to a mechanism inside the bin that stops the auger at a point here that will not allow that auger to carry on any further. It will stop its motion. Additionally, inside the bin there's safety grates covering the holes. This way you can't get your foot caught in the holes or into the auger.
Here at the Barquet Ranch, we've gotten away from using augers for a lot of our transfer of feed and fertilizer, mainly because of the inherent problems with augers, the problems with cold weather start, and then by not using augers, we don't have problems with people getting caught in the augers. So we developed rather a simple system here that could be adapted to almost any place. All you need is a bank, and the sides could be made out of timbers, or in this case we use steel. The trucks drive over top and dump into the bottom part here, and we just come in with a loader. We use a cat loader, but could be a tractor with a loader, and move the product that way. The operator never has to get out of the machine and the loader in transferring the stuff. I really like this system because it not only makes transfer of product more efficient, but we're reducing the hazard by having somebody get caught in augers, and it keeps the employees happier because they're not messing around in the cold with machinery that doesn't always start easy. It's part of our safety plan here, and it's a simple, easy system to put in place.
Rollover protective structures, or more commonly referred to as ROPS, are present on all tractors that are manufactured after 1985.
If we look at the situation with rollover protection in agriculture, over the last 30 years we've seen a tremendous increase in safety awareness. Farmers are wearing their seatbelt more often. We find farmers are wearing seatbelts on the roadway where there's a potential for collision and the tractors and equipment leaving the road, going into ditches and so on. We find that farmers are wearing their seatbelts in conjunction with the rollover protection when they're working fields where there are extremely high hills, where ground or terrain is very rough, or also where they may be working near ditches and embankments.
What's important to recognize is that in Manitoba and in the prairies, we often perceive them as being flat and without hazards, and question whether we really require to have a roll bar on the tractor and put our seatbelt on. If you're working on a roadside, if there are depressions on your field, or any obstacles that are present that are going to tilt your tractor more than about 25 degrees, the potential of a tractor rollover is very real and very present. So having a rollover protective structure, a ROPS on your tractor, and using the seatbelt can make the difference between life and death.
You can never take anything for granted on a machine like this, of this size, of its caliper. It needs to be maintained and properly operated as well. An operator needs to have his mind on what is going on, has to have his ears tuned to the machine. That comes with experience. Any strange sounds or strange actions can mean that there's something wrong with the machine. That needs to be properly inspected and fixed promptly.
One of the major problems with bunker silos is that with single walls, when farmers pack their piles, they could get too close to the edge and they could slip right off and roll the tractor and get a severe injury. We have tried to prevent that by making two walls and a berm, either a dirt berm or a gravel berm, so that when you slide down, you get caught by the dirt berm and then you can just be pulled back in safely.
Agricultural chemicals are a common stay on every farm, and without them we could not have a productive industry. What's important to understand is what are the properties of the chemicals, how they're to be handled, stored, and used. And that all plays into your farm safety and health plan. Develop an inventory of what you have, know what kind of protective equipment, know what kind of training you require, and then stick to your plan.
At our nursery, we do have to use chemicals to control diseases and insects that affect our trees and shrubs that we grow. And safety is at the forefront of our thinking here, both for the environment and for our employees. We've built basically a state-of-the-art chemical storage facility here on the property, and it has a concrete floor. The walls are 1 foot up from the floor, so anything that happened to get spilled would be contained in the unit itself and then cleaned up. The storage unit has ventilation that is running all the time to keep our employees safe. We keep a tight control of our inventory that we have on hand. We also keep updated MSDS records on hand at all times. Here at the nursery, the people that do the spraying for us, it is mandatory that they wear all of the protective equipment that is required as per the label directions. Our PPE is always available and well maintained, and it is restocked as needed. When a container is empty, we employ the triple rinsing method, and that is just to fully ensure that the container is completely free of chemical residue.
The development and implementation of a safety and health plan on any farm is crucial, whether you have employees or you just have family members. And what's important to understand is two critical points. The first one being that you can't use a cookie-cutter approach. You can't borrow someone else's safety and health plan, because every farm operation is dynamic. Every farm has different pieces of equipment, different people bringing different skill sets and different knowledge levels, and your plan has to reflect those considerations. The second important part that you have to consider is that it has to be regularly reviewed and revised to deal with changes in the farming practices, changing in the type of commodity you're producing, and of course changes in the skill levels of the people that are working with you on the farm.
The ranch that we've been working on today has a safety program in place that includes orientation of their new workers and ongoing training for each one of those individuals as well as family members. It's incumbent that any ranch works forward in that direction. Part of the safety is also good operating management and efficiency, and these things go hand in hand in working together to make a much better working environment for family members and employees alike.
It's so important to have a safety plan in place on our farm. We want to make sure that our workers are heard and that we instruct them and get them educated on how to be safe and how to do things safely, to make sure that our young people are aware of the dangers around the farm so that they can stay clear of them, how to operate and do things safely so that for years to come they can enjoy a long and healthy and happy life here on the farm.